Happy New Year! Welcome to week 19 of distance learning. Our topic for this week is called microplastics, which we'll get to in more detail on day 2. Your learning intention for today is to explore how our actions affect ecosystems and their populations. Your agenda is on the left, and your work due by Thursday is on the right. Work due by Thursday from day 1 would be slide 3 of your classwork slides, slide 7, the Jamboard recap, your Nearpod, whose is it anyways, and the exit ticket for day 1 on slide 11 of your week 19 classwork slides. Announcements: remember to cite your sources anytime you are turning in work, classwork, in your digital interactive science notebook. We'll go over this in a little bit. Friday homework support will be from 9:35 to 11:30. Slide 3 has your science check-in form and the kickoff as well. Be prepared to discuss the kickoff in your breakout room if you are in live class. Slide 5. So when you're in your breakout rooms, in order to get the conversation going and to make sure everyone knows what's going on, there are different ways you can interact with your classmates. You could be the instigator who begins conversations. There are sentence stems there. You can ask things like, what do you think? Let's start by. So that leads us to a question. The first thing we need to do is, you could be a builder of conversation. You're developing others' ideas. You could say something like, that was a good point. It could also, I would like to add, yes, and then you could, etc. I'm not gonna read all of them. You could be a challenger. You can argue against someone's point in a respectful way. You can say something like, you said blank, but, and then you go on with your argument. But if that's true, then how can, you can also say that may be true, but what about, you could also be the clarifier. You can make things clearer like a commentator. You can say something like, what do you mean when you say blank? Can you give us an example of blank? Is that the same as, can you explain a little more? You could be the prober. You could ask questions in order to go deeper into the content. What is it about blank that makes you say blank? Justify what you've just said, etc. You could be the summarizer. At the end, before your breakout groups end, you can say, am I right in thinking that, so are you saying, so are we supposed to be, so that suggests, right? So hopefully these sentence stems and this mindset of, okay, what kind of conversation do I want to have? What kind of information do I want? And how do I move these conversations along? So hopefully these sentence stems are helpful. So on slide 6, you have a link to your class period that will take you to a Jamboard. You'll be divided up into 2 groups, and on the top left-hand corner, it should say which group you're in when you're on the Jamboard. You guys will work on 3 of the slides. Either if you're in group 1, it'll be 1, 2, and 3. If you're in group 2, it'll be 4, 5, and 6. And so on that first slide, you are going to determine which of these human activities increase or decrease impact on the environment. And you're just going to move the green I if you think that activity increases impact on the environment, and you're going to label the photo with the pink letter D if you think it decreases environmental impact. The second slide, you have 2 buckets. On the left-hand side, it's asking you to come up with ideas for what kind of actions increase environmental impact. So for example, something that would increase environmental impact would be using plastic water bottles or single-use plastic bags. And actions that decrease environmental impact would be the opposite of those things. So using reusable water bottles, using reusable bags at the grocery store, all would decrease environmental impact. The third slide, it says to use sticky notes, text boxes, or images to add your questions and solutions about ecosystems, climate change, pollution, and human impact on the environment. So this is a chance for you to ask away, ask your peers, ask me what kind of questions you have around these topics, and what are some ideas that you have for solutions. For slide 7 on your classwork slides, you are showing me what your group came up with. If you were not in live class, then this is your way of turning this work in if you weren't able to participate in the Jamboard. So you're going to move the I to the activities that increase environmental impact, and move the green sticky note with the D to the human activities that decrease human impact on the environment. Slide 8 is telling you to click on the Nearpod lesson there. You're going to click on Login with Google, and it should take you to a lesson that says, whose is it anyways? Slide 9 is a recap about plagiarism, what it is, and how you would cite informally and formally on slide 10. So I noticed a few folks who copied and pasted information from websites before the break without giving the author credit. And so it's important to make sure that you cite your sources so that I know that you understand that that work belongs to someone else. And in general, your goal is to be able to make sense of the scientific information. And so basically it's to put it into your own words and something that's meaningful for you. Okay, so here it says plagiarism is using the words, images, or ideas that someone else has created without giving the author credit. So in class, on any regular assignment that you turn in, whether that be classwork, your digital interactive science notebook, or anything, you're going to include informal citations. So include the link of the website and quotation marks around any words that aren't your own. And I've got an example here for you. Cellular respiration is the breakdown of glucose and produces ATP. And so there is the source there. And I've got a note here. And again, it says, your goal is to make sense of the scientific information in your own words. And so a better answer would actually be, cellular respiration happens in plants and animals. It's a process that turns glucose, aka sugar, and oxygen into water, carbon dioxide, and ATP energy. And so if you're still unclear as to what this is, I highly recommend you go to homework support on Friday. Slide 10, formal citations. So a formal citation is a note that gives credit to the author. It says when it was published and where you found the information. So when you will use this would be projects, when you're using arguments with each other, and any sort of formal writing. And so an example is on the slide here for your reference. Slide 12, day 2 of science. Your learning intention is to explore how microplastics and our actions affect ecosystems and their populations. Your agenda is on the left and your work due by Thursday is on the right. Your kickoff is on slide 14, in addition to your science check-in. Your Nearpod lesson on microplastics is on slide 15, and your exit ticket for day 2 is on slide 16. Announcements, remember to cite your sources, and homework support will be from 9:35 to 11:30 a.m. on Friday. Slide 14, your link to your science check-in form is next to number 1. Number 2, your kickoff. I want you to think about the items around you. Whether you're at home or wherever you are, create a list of everything that you can see that's made of plastic. There are 8 bullet points there for you to add. The items that you can see around you that are plastic. If you want to add more, that is perfectly fine. Slide 15 has the link to your microplastics lesson on Nearpod. Slide 16, your exit ticket, is asking you, why are microplastics dangerous for ocean animals? And what is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch? What questions and comments do you have?